I think we're on Genesis 31 still, right? Where did we leave off?
Yes, I think you're right. I have a note here where Rachel's about to sit on the idols, and the note I have in here is girl boss.
How old were you when you wrote "girl boss" in your Bible?
Oh, a week ago.
Oh, a week ago.
Hello, welcome back. This is episode 11? 11 or 12. We'll
We're
figure it out.
somewhere in there. I think we finally rounded out the perfect 12.
Okay, 12. Just like all the sons of Jacob. I am Sarah from Leaving Faith, and this is Justin from Deconstruction Zone. And as always, I will be picking his brain about the Bible. So thank you, Justin, for joining me.
Sarah, I am glad to be back with you, and this is such an exciting part of Genesis, so I can't wait to see what we uncover.
Me too. So we left off halfway through 31. And wait, let me get this right. Yes, Jacob and his family left, but Laban is right behind and is mad that they left. And so he goes and he's confronted them and said, "What the heck? Why did you leave? And you stole stuff from me." And so we are here now. Laban is going to search all of Jacob's tents because he's convinced that Jacob stole from him. So Jacob's like, "What are you talking about?" "No, I didn't." And as luck would have it, Rachel stole some stuff. So she stole household gods. What would those like? It's like a little statue. Is that, or like, what would those actually be?
Yeah, so the teraphim, as they're called in Hebrew, are typical either a fertility statue, or it could just be a generic statue. And what's interesting is there's actually people would set up homes with like little shrines to the deities. So like you think like you go to the temple to worship a deity, but back during this nomadic period, a lot of people had like their own home shrines with many
Mm.
altars and like miniatures of the deity, and then like a even a miniature booth. In fact, I that reminds me, lots of them have been uncovered
Hmm.
by archaeologists. These little mini booths. Let me see if I can. Yes, there's a bunch of them you can find pretty readily on the internet. Let's see. Here's a well, that's a mini altar. But anyways, here's one of the miniature altars you can see that somebody would have had in their home. They're pretty small. The booths and the altars are like, think of like Barbie Playhouse type of size, but for a deity.
Okay, so like looking at what that is, would that be like this big or like half, like up to my waist? Like how big are we talking?
So typically, like we're talking about like Ninja Turtles action figure size.
Oh, really little.
Yeah, because you would set it up on like a table or something inside of your home as like a small shrine to like your household, your family deity. Because a lot of the worship at that time was centered around like a family deity, not necessarily like a nationalistic deity.
Would that be like an ancestor, or like you just happen to have your own special god?
Kind of. Typically, it was your own special god. The ancestor worship was a little bit different than the worship of a deity.
Okay.
So, like, people didn't typically worship the ancestors, but they did try to more or less commune with the ancestors, the departed souls of the ancestors. That typically took place at a different location than the home. Typically, you went closer to where they were buried, like if they were buried in a
Mm,
cave.
okay. So for Rachel to take these, um, she is saying like this isn't like actually taking the God with you, it's taking the place you would worship the God with you. Is that right?
A little bit, yeah, because they had there in the ancient world. There's this interesting idea that the god can essentially manifest the presence anywhere.
Okay.
So there's a really fun story, not a story, it's a ritual called, uh, well, it's titled typically "Setting Up a Second Temple for the Goddess of the Night." You'll find it in the Hittite literature, and there's other rituals like it. Like you'll find in the Babylonian and Assyrian literature, if you set up a temple for a particular deity, there's a ritual that you have to go through to invoke the presence of the deity to come in and to inhabit the particular idol. That has its own ceremony as well, the mouth opening ceremony where the idol's cleansed. But the general idea is we have a physical location for the deity, and since the deity is basically like has all these divine attributes that we don't have, it could be in more than one place at a time. So then, once you set up the household or the shrine for the deity, you just perform the sacred rites, and the deity would dwell presently in that mini
Mm.
shrine as well as all the other ones.
Okay, so Rachel wanted to keep having a place to worship her God, and her God would then essentially like come with her. So wherever she traveled now, she could manifest this God.
Basically, that's the
Okay.
idea.
Why, from Laban's perspective, why is it bad? Like, why is Laban mad that she would want to do that?
Yeah, so this is well, first of all because like the household deities were pretty sacred. And so for example, if you thought that somebody stole your household deity, you've got two problems on your hands. One is the deity might be mad because there was an offense committed against the deity. Number two, it's possible that they were expensive to get a hold of.
Sure.
So it
Okay.
might be akin to like a property crime or a property theft.
Wouldn't Laban want Rachel to be able to keep worshiping their God when she left? Or is he just like, don't take my stuff?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point because typically, like worship in this particular time period, the women and the men didn't always worship the same way. A lot of the women had like they would pray and worship to fertility deities like Asherah or Astarte. Um, it wasn't as common for the women to be involved in the worship of the ancestral father deity,
Hmm.
and a lot of like actual formalized worship was through your headship, through your father or through your husband. So like if you married someone who had a different ancestral father deity, you would worship that deity because you married into that family.
Mm.
So a lot of times the women had non-fatherly deities that they engaged in worship with that could travel with them. Like you can worship a share no matter who you get married to or no matter who headship you're under.
Okay.
So the classification was a little bit different. I don't think Laban would have expected his daughters to worship the same deity that was his ancestral deity.
So she stole his ancestral deity?
I mean, it would seem that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that makes sense why he's mad.
Oh yeah, he's definitely mad. He's definitely mad about that. But then again, Laban kind of seems in the story like a bit of a money hungry schmuck.
Yeah.
So it could very well just be that the guy was just mad that his property was stolen.
Yeah. And he could have been mad just like, I mean, he's mad about this whole situation and wanted a reason maybe to be mad. So, yeah, that would make sense.
Here here is one of the mini shrines. I finally found the article I was looking for. So they're referred to as booths or a sukkah, but it's this is a little mini shrine. You would put a deity inside of it, and then you can offer like incense
Like
at
the deity
home.
would sit in the front, like in that opening.
Yeah, in the crevasse, I guess you would
Oh,
say.
it's cute.
And there's a bunch of them. There's so many. See,
Oh, I like them.
we've got dozens and dozens of these shrines that we've uncovered from ancient Israel and Palestine. Here's another one, kind of a side
Okay.
view. And there was like a whole profession of artisans that would make these particular booths.
Mm. Ooh, that one's
It
pretty.
isn't that one's nice. Oh, of course
Yeah.
the website's broken, but what are you
But
gonna
it's pretty.
do? There we go. The Jewish Virtual Library's got some of them. Here's
Oh,
one.
cool. I like it.
Can I zoom in?
No, it doesn't
What
like
about
you.
this? No, it's a tiny picture. Anyways, the reality is these were commonplace, and so we're
Okay.
not. There's a long diatribe, but we're not really sure if Rachel stole the whole shrine apparatus or if she just took the deity out of it.
Mm.
But she took something highly valued and personal to Laban, and Laban would, and he's already mad that they're leaving.
Right.
So Laban's just he's a little hot under the collar right now.
Yeah. He's not having a good day.
Mm-mm.
Well, I so Rachel takes them and Laban searches and he comes to her tent and she's like, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm having my period and I can't get up. And for the audience, I had just told Justin this that the note I put in my Bible, I said girl boss.
She outsmarted her father.
Well, women were limited in the tools they had to get what they needed, and she used the tools that were available to her.
Yes, it's true, and a number of authors, biblical scholars, have noted on this. There seems to be within the Hebrew Bible a bit of a fondness for women that could outsmart their adversaries. Ooh, excuse
Mm.
me. That's why we see so many stories about it. JL, and then here
Oh,
we've got
man.
Rachel.
She's the one with the spike, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, she's pretty great.
And Judith as well. If you read the Apocrypha, you'll run into the story of Judas as another woman who sort of outsmarted the enemy. So it seems that there's, as we saw with the Jacob narrative, there's benefit in being a trickster. It seems to be a divine quality of some nature.
Interesting. Hmm. Yeah, I guess the authors were tickled about it. Okay, so Laban doesn't find anything, and then
Mm-mm.
Jacob gets real pissed. My verse 30. Oh, yeah, Jacob became very angry. What did you find? What did I do? You treated me like a criminal. How dare you? Yeah, Jacob does not like to be falsely accused. Do not insult his ego. Does not like it. And he goes on this long diatribe, and some of it feels a little exaggerated. Like, he's 20 years I've been with you, and I did all this stuff for you. I never touched a single ram of yours. If any were attacked and killed, did I reduce your count? No, I took the loss. I worked with you for the scorching heat and the cold and sleepless nights. Okay, man. Chapter previous, you tricked him out of most of his flocks. Like, maybe let's not, you're not like a suffering martyr here, buddy.
No, it's super performative.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's probably charming and good with words and knows how to get his point across. Um and then he ends his diatribe with, in fact, by the except for the grace of God, you would have sent me off without a penny to your name, but God has seen your cruelty and my hard work. This is why he appeared to you last night and vindicated me.
Yeah, right.
Sure, buddy. Feel like,
uh,
look, Jacob, we need to sit down and have a talk about the reality of your actions. And maybe you are not perfect and have also done some stupid things along the way.
That certainly is the case. And I'm also curious here. What do you make of the fact that, like Laban had these household deities, but also it says clearly that the same God of Jacob appeared to Laban. So Laban must know. He must be worshiping multiple deities, and God didn't correct him. He didn't come to Laban and say, "Don't worship these other deities." We don't hear anything like that in the story.
Yeah, I mean, God seems to be very selective in what he decides to care about.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't see this God administrating justice in a systematic or fair way. Like Yahweh does it for the plot. And he will do what needs to be done to keep the story going, but it's not he's clearly not out to right every wrong and correct every injustice.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. But Rachel, I'm curious, because it says that she did sit on the idols. If in fact if in fact she was telling the truth, that she was actually on her monthly flow, that would have defiled the idols,
I mean, we don't know what was in between
right?
her and the idols because it says like they were in her camel saddle and now
Mm-hmm.
she was sitting on them.
Right.
So is she sitting on the saddle on them, or did she take them out of the saddle and directly sit on them? I don't know. I mean, maybe she had enough layers in between, but I agree that would seem pretty disrespectful to bleed on your idols. That seems like a bad choice.
And if she's not on her period, is God okay with her lying?
Yes.
He didn't step in.
All of these gods seem like they're okay with that, right? Like I mean, Yahweh God doesn't even step in at all. Like she's taking her gods with her, and
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't strike her dead or stop her or reveal to Laban where they're hidden. Like God just doesn't do anything about it. And I mean, several times, I'm sure we'll get to many of them, like Yahweh is okay with lying if it serves his interest. If it moves his purpose along, the lying seems to be okay.
Yeah, and there's really not like a strict rule against lying. Like there's a rule against bearing false witness. That's like a legal situation.
Okay.
But there's not really a strict hard rule that you can never say something that's untrue. I mean, the Proverbs would have you believe that lying lips are evil. Um, but then again, God uses lies all the time to accomplish his goals. So it seems like lying is only bad if you're doing something bad with it. If you're doing something good with it, maybe it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the lying itself doesn't seem to be the problem.
Right.
The intent and the whether you're still in God's will or not seems to be what the problem is.
I think you're right.
Yeah. All that, another great example of why God's morals are not objective.
No, they are relative.
As long as you're doing what God asks you to do, you can do anything.
Anything you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Including, well, we don't have to say it online, but including all kinds of horrors towards children.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I agreed. Yeah. Okay. So, Laban's like, okay, what the heck, man? And he says, look, this is my family. Like, what are you I'm not going to hurt my own family. Don't be ridiculous. And he wants to make a peace treaty. So clearly, like, Jacob's crash out was effective.
Mm-hmm.
Laban feels bad. And so they make a peace treaty. They gather stones and they name it Witness Pile. And I can't pronounce those words. Um, Jagar Sahadutha?
That's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and Gilead. So this pile of stones will stand as witness to remind us of our agreement. So this is interesting. So he goes on in a few verses to say, I won't know about it if you're harsh to my daughters or if you take other wives, but God will see it. He has two wives and two concubines, but Laban's going to be pissed if he takes more because that would be bad. But so far, Laban's totally cool with it.
Yeah, so that's the funny thing is all of the young women came from Laban's household. So like technically they're all part of the same family. And any son born to the daughters or to the handmaidens are technically Laban's grandchildren. So if he takes somebody from outside of the family as an additional wife, that means the inheritance is going to be shared between the grandchildren of Laban and any grandchildren of the other woman, whoever. So it sounds to me like he's concerned about protecting his lineage by not introducing a foreign woman and keeping it just between those that came from his household. That's my read on it because there really is no rule against marrying multiple wives or having multiple concubines. The only thing the Bible really ever says is that kings should not multiply wives, which is kind of an idiom for having many wives. And so, like, but we're not told what is many. Is five too many? Because we're told of a lot of the great men of the Bible, like Gideon and David, that God blessed them with multiple wives and many children.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of par for the course for kings to have lots and lots and
Hmm.
lots of wives. Is there any example of a woman having many husbands?
Not in the Bible. The closest you'll get is in John, I believe, chapter 4 or 5, when he meets the woman at the well, and it says that you've had many husbands or multiple husbands, and the one that you're with now is not even your husband. Um,
But those were probably like consecutive, not all at once, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not too many examples you'll find in ancient Palestine of a woman having multiple husbands, but in the Arabian Peninsula during the Bronze Age, there was a queen. There for a while there was a succession of female leaders, and I'm willing to bet if you dig real deep into whatever literature is available, you might find that she had her own harem.
That would be interesting.
I've never looked into it, but I mean it seems like why wouldn't she? If she's
Yeah.
the sole ruler of the land, why wouldn't she trying to reproduce with multiple men? Oh, or at least having her handmaidens reproduce with multiple men to produce offspring for her household.
Yeah, I mean, it is then biologically complicated in that, the queen doesn't want to have to be pregnant all the time. What a pain. But I mean, yeah, she could have had a harem just for her enjoyment rather
Yes,
than for reproduction.
it certainly could be the case, but that does bring up a good point, which is, one of the reasons why a woman might not want to have multiple husbands is because she'll always be pregnant,
Yeah,
right?
totally. I mean, if you don't have birth control, it would be unpleasant to be constantly pregnant.
In order for that to work out, you kind of have to be the highest in command and just decide for yourself that you're not going to have the children. I'm going to have many suitors, but not many children.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah. So Laban is saying, like, look, if you are a bad dude, I won't know, but God will.
Mm.
And so he is now calling on the God of Abraham, said, look, God, you promise, all right? So you keep this guy in check. And they agree. There's a boundary line, and they have a feast. And then Laban leaves. And he kisses his daughters and grandchildren and goes home. And thus ends the Ballad of Laban. I mean, I don't, I don't know what Laban thought was going to happen. I guess that he was going to intimidate Jacob and take his stuff back, but no, Jacob's way too dramatic for that. He's not going to have it.
Yeah, and Jacob is a little bit is headstrong the wrong word for it? He's a determined individual, it seems like.
Yeah, no, headstrong's a good word for it.
But you kind of I don't know if I dislike Laban or if he's just a plot device, but
Mm.
so far, other than the very ending of the chapter we read, I haven't seen a whole lot of instances of Laban acting in a way that is like representative of good character.
Yeah, that was a very nice roundabout way to say that. Yeah, Laban's not great. Like he's not my favorite. I'm not rooting for him. He is definitely a plot device. Yeah, he moves the story along, gives us a little conflict, but not a great dude. Not a fan.
No. Yeah, no one's like there's no Christian or Jewish little girl out there saying I want to grow up one day and marry a Laban. It's not a it's not a thing.
Definitely not. No, thank you. Okay, so now Jacob has to go home and see Esau, who he has not seen in like 20 years. Who Esau said he was going to kill him, and that's why he had to leave. Because Jacob is kind of a jerk and stole everything from Esau.
Hmm.
I would be pissed too. Maybe not murderous, but angry for sure. Okay, so the whole giant parade of people gets going. Um, and angels of God came to meet them. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." So he gave it a name. And and then that kind of ends. Like that's the
Is it-
whole that's it. That's all we know. Like it doesn't because it says in verse 3 like Jacob now sent messengers to his brother, but that sounds like that's different people. That's not the God's like not angels, it's just regular human messengers, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there there's some difficulty with the sentence as Jacob went on his way and the angels of God met him, which would lead you to believe that they're indeed just angelic messengers. Like God sent a warning, a divine warning, and Jacob saw it. And so, but this is a weird statement. The reason why this statement is in the text, as are a bunch of statements in Genesis and Exodus, is it's serving as an explanation for how these landmarks got their names.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because otherwise, this doesn't really serve a purpose other than to fulfill the ideological nature of Genesis.
Hmm. Yeah, okay. Well, there we go. Nice little place filler for us. Okay. So now Jacob is going to send some people ahead to see Esau. And he says, "All right, give this message to Esau." And he's really like bowing down low here. Like, I give my humble greetings from your servant. I'm hoping we're okay, man. And I remember hearing this story when I was a kid. And the messengers returned with the news that Esau was on his way to meet Jacob with an army of 400 men! Exclamation point. My Bible has an exclamation point. Delightful. Um so Jacob is freaked out, right? Like he thinks Esau is coming to murder him with 400 men. Would these men be his servants or are these like dudes in the city?
So they're probably dudes in a city or part of a clan. We're not really told it because it seems like Esau probably started a family prior to Jacob. Because we
Mm.
learned about Esau getting married prior to Jacob running off. Jacob was 70 when he left. It's possible that Esau had children even before Jacob left. Um, so, but he had 4 wives, depending on how you read Genesis. In Genesis 26 and Genesis 36, we're told of 3 individual wives, but the names don't match. So
Oh.
we could just combine them and say maybe he had 4 or 5 wives instead of 3. But that's another. We'll Genesis 36 when we get there. Um, so like we don't know how many children, but let's say he was proliferous. Let's say he had 2 with each. He had at least 12. We'll give him 12, 13, 14 children. I mean, it's hard to know how you end up with 400 people because they couldn't all
Mm-hmm.
be members of his family unless he was really blessed with servants. And that is likely. Abraham, God blessed Abraham with lots of slaves.
Right.
So it might be one of those situations where a lot of these people are slaves that work for him. I
Mm-hmm.
don't see a good reason why the men of the city would be compelled to follow Esau to go meet his long lost brother.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. That like these were part of his family slash his servants slash slaves. Okay.
And we will learn later, closer to 36, that Esau, he just like Abraham and his nephew Lot, their households grow so great that they have to move apart from each other. Which is another anachronism because, as we'll find out, he has already moved to the land of Seir. We're going to see that again in this chapter, and then later in chapter 36, he has to move to the land of Seir again, which is
Hmm.
which is funny that he moves from the same place to the same place. It's almost like there's a plot hole.
In Genesis, never. There would never be a plot hole in Genesis.
Oh boy. So yeah, they're probably
Uh,
slaves, I would imagine.
okay. So Jacob's freaked out. He thinks there's this army here to come kill him, and he decides to cut his whole group in half. Like, well, if he murders all of us, half of them will get away. Okay, I guess. And so this is interesting to me in Jacob's prayer. So now he's praying to God of my grandfather and father. You told me to come back and you'd be nice to me. And then in verse 10, he says, I am not worthy of all the faithfulness and unfailing love you've shown me. That to me actually seems out of character for Jacob. Like, he's not really a humble guy, and he he and his father and grandfather uh, tended to like test God and make God kind of prove himself a lot. And so this one line to me really feels very like modern Christianity, like this is how we're taught to talk to God. But here it just, I don't know, it just seems really out of character unless he's doing the exact same thing that he was doing with Esau, unless he's just like, I'm so unworthy, like, please help me. I'm terrible. I need your help. And if I mean, he's really dramatic. He's a dramatic guy. So I don't know. Maybe he's just bringing the drama. I don't know. It just struck me as an odd one.
Yeah, so there's this self abasement that was common in this time period, and one of my favorite examples comes from the Tel El Amarna tablets discovered in Akhenaten's palace. It's a bunch of communication between the pharaoh and between like these little vassal kings within Canaan, but they always address the pharaoh in the most abased way possible because they need his help. So they'll be like,
Mm.
to the Pharaoh, my sun god, my pantheon, I am the dirt between your toes. I lay on my face 7 times and on my back 7 more. That's how they address because they need
Damn.
something, right? And
Yeah.
so we've seen a lot of the same stuff when people are approaching the deity. They have to find a way to abase themselves to appease the deity to get what they need. I don't think necessarily all of it is in good faith. I think a lot of it is performative.
That makes sense. And that would
Yeah.
fit more with Jacob's character too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he's now saying like, "Oh, you've blessed me so much. Look at all of the stuff I have. Thank goodness." So here's my ask. Please don't let my brother kill me. I'm pretty worried about it. And, but you promised you would. So I'm just reminding you, hey, this is what you promised, and don't let me die. I get it, right? I mean, yeah, that's what you're gonna do. You're worried for your life. Your God is gonna come and save you. And so now, in addition to like bowing down to God and bowing down to Esau, he's gonna give Esau a big gift. So he gives a bunch of goats, a bunch of ewes or sheep, right?
I think they are, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sheep, camels, cows, donkeys, and servants are going to lead this gift. Um and he's basically saying, "Now look, when you meet Esau, tell him they're from me. I am the one who gave him this gift. Make sure he knows I'm super sorry. I really love you. I'm a good dude. It's from me. I promise."
At least he knows he really like royally screwed up and needs to like make it, some amends for it.
Yeah, totally. He does. He has some groveling to do. So he's hoping like, okay, here's all these gifts. Jacob's coming. He's on his way. So like get your anger out now and um here's the plan. So there's such a crazy story now at the end of this chapter. And I learned about it, I feel like, so much, and there's so little detail in here. It's infuriating. So, starting in 22, he's getting up during the night and they're going across the river. And so he's like, "You guys go over there. I'm going to stay here by myself and meet Esau. Don't, in case he wants to like, kill my family." And my verse says, "This left Jacob all alone in the camp, and a man came and wrestled with him until dawn." What? Like, what? That can't be like, how can that just be a sentence? Like, that's not what? Like,
Yeah.
some dude is just like, "I'm going to fight you." And I, like, I just feel like there needs to be so much more context there. Like,
Hmm.
why is Jacob doing this? Has this man threatened him? Is he trying to steal from him? Does he just look like a big dude and Jacob wants to see if he can take him down? Like, what? I feel like there needs to be more context in this passage. Unless this is normal. I mean, do dudes just like wrestle each other for fun?
No, so this is a really interesting plot device in the story. And Hosea later tried to rationalize this. Hosea says that Jacob wrestled with an angel rather than with a god or a man. In the passage, we're gonna find out that the entity wrestling with Jacob is Elohim, which means it could be it could be the God, it could be Elohim, it could be a divine entity like an angel. It could be a member of the divine council. We don't really know. It's just some sort of divine entity. But the reason why this needs to be here is first of all, it's redundant. But the reason why it originally came about was to explain how the name Israel developed. Israel means contends
Oh,
with God. So
I see.
this seems to be an explanation for the name. It's funny because elsewhere in Genesis, we find that Jacob's name is changed from Jacob to Israel a second time. So there are two competing explanations for how this happened in Genesis. But the reality is, the reason why this fits is because in the ancient Near East, most of these rivers, crossing a river was kind of a big ordeal.
Okay.
And usually there was some sort of divine agent in charge of the river, whether it was a river deity or something in that nature. In fact, in the ancient Babylonian text, it refers to the river that judges, because people, just like there's casting of lots in the Bible, they would, when rather than casting lots in ancient Mesopotamia, they would throw you into the river, and yeah, if you survived, then you were telling the truth. God preserved you. If you drown in the river, well, what
Oh
are you gonna
well, guess you
do?
were lying.
So this is kind of like having to appease the bridge troll. The bridge over the river has got the troll underneath of it. Is That's where this shtick kind of comes from. That like to cross a river means that you have to contend with the deity in control of that river, so that you don't die.
Mm.
And so we have this really interesting story. There's parallels to this in the ancient Near East, where you're confronted by some sort of a river demon as you're crossing. And so this would have fit nicely within the corpus of ancient Near Eastern literature. Everyone would have known this concept. It was like a stock image. And so they're like, yeah, well, fucking, of course he had to wrestle a divine entity to cross the river. Doesn't everybody? you
Okay.
know?
Well, that actually makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
weird though that he's described as a man then, that he's wrestling a man. Like I don't know why it wouldn't say deity in some way or some word for deity. That's weird.
Well, we do get that later in the story, like verse
Yeah.
29 and 30. But if you remember, the two divine entities in Genesis 18 and 19 were called men. So the two angels that accompanied
Mm,
Yahweh when they visited, they're referred to as men later on in the next chapter. There's a long running tradition of divine entities manifesting as human beings, and they're a lot of times people don't know, they just refer to them as men.
I see. Weird. Okay. So he wrestles this man slash river god slash Elohim, and the dude cheats. Like, okay, at this point, Jacob is what, 90 years old?
He's got to be, because so he left when he was 70, and he worked there for 20 years. So yeah, 90.
At least 90. And so this deity comes down, wrestles with him all night. And when the man slash deity saw he couldn't win the match, he struck Jacob's hip and knocked it out of the joint at the socket.
Yeah.
What kind of deity is this? He has to sublux his hip in order to win the match? That's garbage.
So this is why so many people are uncomfortable with the idea that he could have been wrestling against El or
Right.
Elohim, because it's like, well, he's supposed to be all powerful. What do you
Totally.
what do you mean Jacob's kicking his ass?
And then I think you have to do the sort of modern Christian thing of like, well, God could have won, but he chose to withhold his strength and not win. But then
Right.
you have to ignore what the text actually says. I mean, well, I guess mine says something slightly different than yours because like mine it explicitly says the man couldn't win, whereas your text more says that he didn't rather than he couldn't.
There is one place where it says that he saw that he couldn't prevail, and I think either one of those is fine. So my text, let me put it back up, says when the man saw that he did not prevail against
Oh,
Jacob. So,
yeah.
but that's not actually true. We have the verb yakal in the actual text, which means to be able.
Oh,
Um,
so it does mean could not, like he was not able to.
yeah. So it certainly seems that there's an implication that the divine entity was unable to prevail, like it wasn't within him to do it.
Wild. Yep. Must have just been an angel then.
It must have just
Like,
been an angel.
right? And God sent his weakest angel. Like, I feel like I could take a 90-year-old man. Like, I feel like I could win. Like, 90?
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel good about it. Like, I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. I mean, you're still in your prime. Jacob, I mean, technically, Jacob's still in his prime if he's going to live over 100 something. No,
I
he's got to be at the
guess.
tail end of it, though, at 90. Like,
Yeah, 90.
yeah, he only lives to, well, what, like was it 147, 127? I forget now, but he lives a long life.
Okay. So the guy cheats. He dislocates his hip. And then the man says, let go because it's dawn. And basically like, look, man, I'm tired of fighting you. Like, get me out of this headlock that you have me in, or whatever. And I'm sure you could guess what the move is, how you would hold someone. I'm sure you know all the names of all the moves. Um, yeah, he's like, no, I'm not gonna let you go unless you bless me. So Jacob is holding some sort of divine being in a headlock, and or whatever word you think would be better than headlock. That's the only one
Full Nelson.
I know. Okay, in a full Nelson. And Jacob is like, not blackmail. What's the word? Um
He's kind of yeah, blackmail's not the right word, but I can't think of
like like coerce.
holding him hostage.
Yeah, like uh, yeah, he's like forcing him to do something. I mean, what a that's the opposite, I feel like, of how Christians view their deity today. Like, you're not gonna demand God do something and hold him hostage until he does what you want. Like, that would be seen as the ultimate disrespect. Like, how dare you talk to God like that? But this divine being's like, cool, I'll bless you. Great, sounds good.
Which is kind of a weird bargain too, because like if you're wrestling with a deity and you've got him beat, I mean theoretically the deity could just say, "Yeah, I'll bless you," and then not carry through with the blessing. Because like if the deity's in charge of making sure the blessing comes true, he can just be like, "Oh well, sorry about your luck."
I mean, yeah, that's true, but Jacob's supposed to be like a special guy. Like, God's
True.
not going to screw with his special guy. Like, maybe a, no name person, but not the main character.
Not this guy. But I mean, the blessing. I don't know exactly what the how the blessing comes true.
Oh.
We're
Is
not
the
told much about.
blessing just changing his name?
See, that's the thing. No, we don't really know.
Cuz
It must not be important.
yeah, that's all they say. Like, I won't let go until you bless me. And the man asks your name. And then he says, okay, your name's not going to be Jacob. It's now Israel because you have struggled with both God and men and have won.
Hmm.
Which, Ruby, it's fine, is an interesting sentence because now it seems like he's talking about something bigger than just this one moment. Unless it's supposed to mean that in this one person is contained both God and men, but it seems like he's making a bigger pronouncement.
Yeah, that's the thing is the pronoun. I'm reading the pronouncement as separate from the blessing, but if
Mm.
that's the case, we don't even know what the blessing is.
Yeah, totally. And he already has all these blessings from God, right? Like, this God has promised him that he would expand everything, he would be hugely rich and have all these, like, what does he need another blessing for? He not only is he still part of Abraham's blessing, but he stole another blessing from Esau. Like, he
Yeah.
still has Esau's blessing, but nope, he needs more. It's never enough for Jacob.
If we learn anything about Jacob, is this is a dude that wants to be blessed.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure is. Yep. He's was neglected, he feels, in his childhood and now needs to make up for it.
Although both times he gets blessed here, he has to like finagle his way into it. Like he has to fight for it.
Yeah, that's true. He has to be crafty and he has to, yeah, wiggle his way into a blessing. It doesn't come easy to him.
Yeah. It's almost like God didn't like him.
Yeah, or like God loves him and also is really annoyed by him.
So that sounds about right. That's how God is with all of his children in the Bible. He didn't like any of them.
It's like, I love you because you're my kid, but man, you are driving me crazy.
Yeah. What's that? You want some bread and water? How about some damn snakes? What do you think about that? Like the guy's just not a good dad.
No. Like, can you imagine wrestling with your son and he's beating you? And so you're like, I better dislocate this guy's hip.
Who's this motherfucker think he is? We can take the hip out. But like, if you're powerful enough to do magic and take somebody's hip out, how do you not have the power to win the wrestling match without breaking the hip? I don't understand why you have to fight dirty.
Yes, exactly. I don't either. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it from what you've said about, the way these stories are, the fact that he has a limp for the rest of his life and the people of Israel don't eat meat near the hip because of that. I mean, it does sound like it's one of those retrospective, like, let's justify a tradition that we have, with a story.
100%. All of the patriarchal narratives are there to explain things later. That this
Hmm.
is our backstory. You want to know this? Well, this is why. You want to know that? This is why, right? So they're making a meta narrative to explain what's happening at like the beginning of the Iron Age by telling Bronze Age fairy tales.
It makes sense. I mean, I really do empathize with the need to do that because, like, as humans, we need a backstory.
Mhm.
We need to have some kind of anchoring in who are we, where did we come from, how did we get to where we are. Um, so yeah, I appreciate the need for that. Um, it just it makes sense for us to now acknowledge that that's what that is and not use this as infallible history.
Yeah, for sure. And the funny thing is, once you recognize that, everything makes sense. Like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, everything makes sense in light of Genesis being an explanatory mythological backstory for why things are the way they are.
Yeah. Oh no, it makes it so much better. And like knowing that it's really essentially two cultures merging their stories also makes it make so much more sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's much better.
And there's a little inclusion in the third culture. They don't get a lot of play in the Bible, but part of this is to explain how the Arabs came to be, because the Arabs that claim to be from Ishmael, they were a real people group. There's documents going all the way back to the 8th century BCE from the Neo-Assyrian Empire talking about the Ishmaelites. So Genesis
Mm.
is not just concerned with their own backstory, but how did these neighbors come to be? Like, we don't like these people over here. How did they get here? Like, well, let me tell you about their ignoble ancestors.
Right, we're the McCoys, not the what's the other the
Hatfields?
Hatfields. I was like, it starts with an H. Yes. Yeah, let me tell you about these Hatfields. We're McCoys. We don't do that.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Okay, we have reached the end of the chapter and we've gone about an hour, so we'd better think call it a day. I really enjoyed the drama of Jacob. He brings the sass all the time. Really fun. So thank you for everyone who made it all the way to the end with us. We appreciate it, and we will be getting these out more regularly. So hopefully you'll see them on a regular schedule, and you can keep up with Genesis. So as always, thank you, Justin, for all of your insight.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I enjoy your insights as well. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, thanks. All right. Have a good night, everyone.